Hey everybody, I'm Ari Sutton. I'm the adjunct professor for this class, and I just wanted to show you something as we're getting started with the discussion board. One of the things that I realized a lot of people didn't get from the last class is the difference between a publication that appears in a browser like Google Chrome or Safari and the kind of magazine publication that you can get in an app like Apple Books or a Nook or something like that. So I wanted to show you today the direction that our final project goes in and why really when we're asking in the discussions we're kind of looking to be discussing more the app type, although you can discuss the web type too, which is of course a publication, but it's something slightly different. So I wanted to show you something that I'm working on as an example. I started it a couple weeks ago and I haven't had time to put much time into it, but I wanted to show you what it will look like as an app. Alright, so let's take a look. Alright, so this is a publication that I'm working on, and it's not a real publication, it's something I made up. And what I'm doing is I have so far a cover. I started working on the table of contents and a feature article, which is going to be at least a 2-page spread, and then there's probably going to be some kind of an interactive ad at the end. And I want to show you a couple of things here. What I decided to do with this is make it an art magazine because that's one of my interests. I called it Art Today, and on the cover I chose an artist sort of friend, acquaintance of mine who I speak to quite regularly on Facebook and Instagram. She's an artist from Ukraine who does the most beautiful linoleum cuts, and she's been trying to create art in the middle of a war, so I thought that she'd be an appropriate person to put on the cover. But I also wanted to make this about kinetic art in this edition, so what I did was I created an animation up here, and you'll see how that runs in a minute. And also I put in some hyperlinks. This is a button that I created, so you can create buttons or you can create hypertext. I have hypertext on these two headings and they're going to lead to certain places. On the feature article I also put in a video. Can't see it now, but once it's exported as an EPUB you'll be able to see it. So while you're working inside you can actually test it using interactivity preview. And you can see when I hit refresh my animation will start playing. So that's the animation on the page. You can also see that this is a clickable button. You see how it has a rollover effect. And it won't work in here, but when I go to click on it, it should change to another page. And you see how my arrow turns to a hand to show you I have hypertext here and over here as well. Now if I turn to the other page, let's refresh it again. Now I can see on this page that there's actually embedded video in here. But when I export it as an EPUB, I have a couple of different options. I can go to File, Export, or Command-D on my Mac, or Control-E on a PC. And you can see now I have some options here. I can do it as a PDF interactive, which opens up in Adobe PDF. The interactives work nicely, but they don't support some of the things like animations. But you can get some of the features to work in an interactive. We have the EPUB fixed layout and the EPUB reflowable. A reflowable is basically for like ebooks where the text will reflow and fit the shape of the device that you're seeing it on. In fixed layout for a magazine design, you want the text to look consistently with maybe the way it looks in the magazine, except that you may want to add some other things, and we'll talk about it as we get further into the class. But I'm going to choose the fixed layout EPUB, and then I'm going to decide where I want it to go. I'm just putting it on my desktop, and I click Save. It's going to ask me if I want to rewrite at some point, and just click OK, and it's telling me one of my gradients was dropped. Alright, so this is Apple Books that just opened up now, and that's what my cover looks like. And you can see now it looks like a magazine cover, and I've got my kinetic art up here because it's discussing kinetic art, which is why I made that particular animation. And when I click my button here, it takes me to the table of contents. This one here will take me to the feature article. And the very first time, usually you have to allow it to go outside the EPUB to grab that content. And then when I click in here, I can actually play the video in here. So that's what I wanted to show you. When I'm talking about digital publications as opposed to paper publications for a magazine particularly, I am talking about this kind of one that would open up in an app. It's very different than something that you'll see in a web browser. You're not going to see this kind of stuff, although you get interactions in web browsers and everything else. This is a much more controlled environment than the web is. No pop-up ads and so on and so forth, right? All right. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm talking about, all right? Have a wonderful day, and I hope everybody has success, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work start to come in.